The other thing that caught my attention in this last week has been electric public transport. Now, the Golden Arrow has been trialing both electric mobility for some years now, and the taxi industry is also. And so I was thinking about the quantums, the high aces which became quantums, that Toyota, when they do the figures for car sales every month, Toyota's always at the top. The last few times I checked, Toyota followed by Suzuki, followed by VW. And that figure excludes minibus taxis, the quantums, right? That is so big that it's in another category of its own. Now, interestingly, Toyota has, they've done hybrids for a long, long time. They were the real masters of hybrid, but it's only recent that they've got commercially available electric cars. Like there's one coming to South Africa now. Like a kind of a take on the RAV4, but electric, right? And I would be surprised if they didn't actually have somewhere an electric passenger transit platform already developed. But they should have been here already with it, because now there's a project, I think the project is called eKamva, and it's Stellenbosch University and a Chinese automobile brand. It's a bigger company, but the specific brand for this passenger transit solution is called Higer, Higer. Anyway, so they're doing what looks like a Toyota Quantum, but it isn't a Toyota Quantum. It's a Higer, and it's all electric. And the pilot project is out in Century City. And basically what they're setting up is an e-taxi rank, an electric taxi rank. So they'll be trialing out this vehicle, but also with charge stations. So then I'm thinking this week of a future in South Africa where taxi ranks are energy hubs. And there's this massive transition from fueling stations as we know them to these e-fueling stations. So if you just think of, who are how much fuel is the taxi industry using? And where are they buying that fuel currently? If the taxi industry no longer needs that fuel, and it generates power on its own site with solar, all those taxi ranks with solar are powering off-grid recharging stations priced at a wholesale rate for the taxi industry, run by the taxi industry in partnership with, that would be, who's going to be that player? Who's going to partner with them to do this? You remember Santaco? They were going to do an airline. That didn't pan out. I think this was the thing that they always wanted to do. This is the thing. So suddenly, all of that spend is shifting. It's not going to be quick, but it's going to shift over time to where if the energy cost of a ride comes down significantly from what it currently is, those guys are operating just a very cost-efficient fleet, which means that their pricing can adjust also downward. Could it? Should it? Should do it. But it's replacing, like, over time, an entire privately owned, distributed suite, myriads of suites of vehicles, right? But imagine if every taxi rank was an energy hub, and taxis in those zones recharge there. And then everything starts coming there. So there's going to be other So do we start to see taxi ranks emerging as, is this what takes public transport broadly into that ideal that we have in terms of the frameworks that the whole country, if you look at the frameworks for spatial development, these are beautifully conceived. You can't fault South Africa's governance in all of its different spheres for the plans, the execution. But the plans are fantastic. Every citizen being within 500 meters of, and the plans for how this can be manifested, right? And there is tremendous progress being made. I mean, I think when the vision for the My City and then integrated transport, I think this integration that we sought in the lead up to 2010, which was launched as part of 2010 with the World Cup as like, connected, polyform public transport system that's all smart with, that whole number is realized with the shift to e-mobility on the public transport side. So suddenly, if you've got, where's the graveyard for all these quantums? What happens to all these quantums? How much else in the country changes when that shift changes? I think this is where we're going to really start to see, like, we're going to leapfrog the fossil fuel era with our public transport hubs. These taxi hubs are going to become like what Alexanderplatz in Berlin, for me, was one of my first trips to Europe. Just like this vision of a train station. Wow! It's like what do you call these things? Not a temple. What's the other word that is used? Like for Gaudi's church. Anyway, it doesn't matter. There's all these other elements that the taxi industry feeds that suddenly become part of this, that kind of leapfrog to a next generation. I'm very interested to see. Also, electric cars, just in the last quarter, I think, like BYD, if I read this correctly, BYD's operations in South Africa kind of really started rolling out early in 2026. And all these new vehicles hitting here, all these new electric, and then Geely coming on now, and then suddenly today it's Aura. And so electric vehicle sales in South Africa has been really, really small, down in the last couple of years. And then this fuel crisis, as a result of what Israel and America is perpetuating in West Asia. It's incredible how quick this shift is, because EV sales have doubled in the last little while. In this period of this conflict, it's pretty much doubled. It's still very, very, very small. But there's this amazing momentum. I think the numbers don't quite speak to the reality yet. The numbers are small, there's no doubt about it. But the presence of these cars on the road in concentrated amounts, for me, is quite striking. And the longevity of earlier generation EVs like the BMW i3, that little funny looking, for me, beautiful looking car, like just this beautiful form that's on the road with this very short range. So it's this e-mobility for public transport, with particularly the private sector public transport, minibuses, which of course is that's the economy of the country. So if the economy of the country, if that thing goes electric over time, that's an incredible power shift in metaphorical and real ways. I'm really interested to see. So follow this eKamva thing. I think the last thing that I read, which I think was published in April, was talking about the project going live in October this year. So I'm really intrigued I want to go and visit this vision of what the taxi rank of the future looks like as an energy hub.